Welcome everyone to another episode of our podcast, Reshape Hospitality with Tech. I'm your host, Maria, and I am joined by my co host, Wajid. We have with us a game changer from the hospitality industry. He is David President. Welcome, David, to our podcast. We are really excited to have you in today's episode.
Welcome,
Maria,
David.
thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome. It's our pleasure to have you in our podcast, really.
It
Yeah, you're
means a
always
lot to
welcome. David, I have gone through your LinkedIn profile and I have found that you are a hospitality leader with more than 17 years of working experience in sales and marketing. I want to know about your professional journey, like why you choose hospitality industry as your career and what struggles and challenges you faced.
Absolutely. Well, hospitality to me was embedded in my being from the jump. I'm from a little town called Charleston, South Carolina, and Charleston is big on hospitality. So for me, I started working in a hotel as a summer job. And I fell in love with the industry. I started in the banquet setup department, and I loved setting up for events and did different conferences. But I always wondered, what those people did in that sales office, and I always wanted to learn a little bit more. So when I decided to go to college, I was going to major in psychology. I'm still not sure why, but I changed my major to hospitality and tourism management, and I just stuck with the industry. I loved going to work each day. I love making a difference in people's lives for their events. And I saw the opportunity in the industry. And there are so many different avenues that you can take in hospitality to grow and turn it into a career. So I applied for a front desk job at a Residence Inn, and the GM interviewed me for a sales coordinator job and hired me for that job based on my banquet experience. And it was the beginning of my story in the sales field of hospitality.
I am impressed the way you share your professional journey with us, and I must say you have a great passion towards a job role. David, I want you to tell us about the power of a suit. Could you please tell us what encouraged you to write this book?
Well, I've always been motivated, and I've always taken pride in my appearance. My grandfather raised me, and he was a very sharp guy. And it's something that I noticed that made a difference in my professional career. Even going back to that interview that I talked about a few minutes ago with the general manager, who I applied for a front desk job, but he saw me in the lobby. I was wearing a suit, and he stopped me and asked me if I needed help. And I told him I was there for an interview. And he called me in his office. And it was based on that first impression. The first thing that he saw was the way I looked and how I presented myself before I even opened my mouth. And it allowed me to be able to interview for a job that changed my life. So I wanted to share my personal stories with the world. I wanted to help the next generation that's coming behind me. Share some best practices and tips to hopefully encourage and motivate them to step their game up. You to show up to the interview dressed to impress, and not for the job that you're interviewing for, but for the job that you want in the future. And during COVID, I had some time off when I was furloughed, and I took the time to really write this book. And it's amazing how you want to do something all along, but you feel like you can never find the time. And mentally, I've been writing that book my whole life, but I was finally able to sit down and put the stories into chapters and really put it out there to the world. And honestly, it was one of the best things that I had ever done.
Yeah, I must say, first impression is the last one. It's wonderful to hear about your idea behind the book you wrote. It will definitely help the professionals to grow up their career in the hospitality industry.
Absolutely. And hearing from industry colleagues who who bought the book on Amazon or still wants to read it. I was just at a conference in Palm Springs, California last week, and one of my colleagues said, "I just purchased your book. I love it. Thank you. It helped me, and I'm going to share it with my entire team." that means a lot. For me, it wasn't about a monetary thing. I really just wanted to share some best practices and tips, and I poured my heart out with genuine stories about people that influenced me also, because we see people in the industry who are sharp or that are go-getters, and we want to know how those people got to where they're at. So in that book, I did share some true testimonials from people that helped me along the way and poured into me and allowed me to be able to do the same by writing this book.
Great, great.
Loving it.
Really great to hear this. And I think I must have to buy this book as soon as possible to read
I'll
it
send you
before publish this podcast. I really want to say to my audience that, guys, I'm going to buy this book, and I will write a detailed description after publishing this podcast.
I would love that. I would love
Definitely,
that.
definitely, David. Uh, Great. So, David, you mentioned that you work as a front desk officer, right? So, can we have some interesting or funny story uh, at that from that time? So,
Oh
this
man.
will motivate other front desk officers who are working as a front desk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right.
So front desk is never a dull day. And you have to always be prepared for anything that happens. Even during COVID, I'm a director of sales, but we were operating on a very slim staff. So I had to revert back to working the front desk, working in housekeeping. There were 8 of us running a 300-room hotel. So we did everything. And it really brought me back to the basics. And we were dealing with a lot of guests that were nervous about being around other people, that were nervous about the cleanliness of the rooms. So most importantly, during that time, we were offering a lot of discounted rates. So normally people who can't afford or wouldn't afford to stay at the hotel were able to stay there. And we treated them like royalty. And I remember one instance, we had a homeless couple that had just gotten some of the government assistance. And they came to the hotel and they were literally pushing a buggy with their
Mhm.
stuff in the buggy, and they asked for a room. And I talked to them. I got my general manager down, and we just really got to know them and learn their story. And we put them in the suite. We provided food and beverage for them. And we just made them feel at home. And they stayed with us for about a week. And upon departure, the woman, she cried, and she said that the amount of love and passion that she received from the staff at the hotel was amazing. Because we're a very judgmental society, and when you see people pushing a buggy or homeless or people that just need help, we sometimes turn the other cheek. And to be able to provide a 4-star experience for a couple that normally wouldn't have that opportunity was amazing. And when she cried, I cried, and we're all downstairs crying. And it was definitely a story that I
Really
will never
cute.
ever
Yeah,
forget.
definitely. This is a really cute. Like,
Yeah.
I feel that COVID comes with opportunities and some interesting stories and some emotional stories too. So I really liked this story, and I hope I wish someday we got a good opportunity to work on this side too, because in the hospitality industry, I talked to many people. Like recently, we interviewed a general manager from the hotel. He was a front desk officer too, and he started his career as a front desk officer. So Carlos was saying that I was on front desk on that time where I have a bunch of keys in my hands, and I wait people, hey, wait for your turn. Let me arrange a room for yourself. So yeah, I think front desk is a warrior. Front desk officers are warrior in any
Yeah,
Yeah.
property. I
yeah,
personally believe this.
yeah. We call them the front line of defense because they're the first
Yeah,
line
Yeah.
when someone's
definitely,
checking. They get all the problems, all the issues, and you have to be resilient and always wear a smile. And you have to have that mindset that the client is always right, even if they're not. You have to treat them
definitely,
like they are, for sure.
like it, definitely.
David, let's talk about Remington Hospitality Management as a regional director of sales and marketing. What do you think? What kind of marketing strategies help hoteliers to attract existing and new guests?
Absolutely. So, working for Remington has been amazing. One of the things that I really enjoy is we create streamlined processes to make sure that we have a foundation for all of our initiatives. So, creating our marketing plan across the company, we own and manage over 130 hotels across the US. And we rolled out streamlined processes that encourage feedback from the field. We also encourage brainstorming sessions, and we make sure that the data that we have to conduct our market analysis and to make sure that we're putting in vital information, that all of those pieces together help us create a solid plan. Now, we do operate branded and non-branded or independent lifestyle hotels. So each hotel is a little bit different when it comes to what's needed to make a solid marketing plan, especially when you have to report it back to ownership. But having that foundation, that basic, this is what we do, these are the reports that we run, this is what we look at, and include your sales managers and your assistant DOSs in the conversations and make them a part of it. So what I do every marketing season when we're creating a marketing plan, I have brainstorming sessions with my team. I order pizza and we literally lock ourselves in the boardroom all day. And it's fun, it's motivational, it's encouraging. But I feel like sales managers are able to sell more effectively when they're a part of the planning process. A lot of companies don't involve the managers at the property level, and it's just the DOSs and above that are creating these plans. But they offer so much insight and so much knowledge from the local area and the local market that for me it's imperative to have those people in there. So Remington has done a phenomenal job with creating the streamlined processes for us to be able to operate off of.
Good to know about your planning process with your staff members. However, I think if hoteliers invest in guest services by providing discount offers and rooms booking services with the latest technology, then it will automatically help in attracting existing and new guests.
I totally agree. I mean, I feel that if you're a hotel management company or a large hotel firm and you're not embracing technology, you're going to be left behind. Like the digital check-in, the e-check-in has been revolutionary in the industry, and what it does is it gives consumers another option to check into a hotel. Not everybody wants to go to the front desk and have a conversation. So providing other technological offers does increase your guest pipeline. Also, Kipsu. Kipsu is a tool that we use often, mostly at the front desk and on the operations side, but it gives us another avenue to connect with our guests, to be able to send a text message as soon as you check in. How is your room? How can we help you? And then those guests can communicate directly with the operations staff. It's just another way to embrace technology and give guests more option to be able to communicate. And Maria, you said it best. When you have multiple options for guests to use, it increases your guest count across the board. Across the board.
Completely agree.
David, actually, I'm thinking to ask you about, revenue and cost in the hospitality industry. What do you think how hoteliers can minimize the operation cost and maximize their revenue efficiency, like using technology and using, latest trend by adopting technology in their property?
Well, I think one of the quickest ways that they can maximize their costs is by managing one of the top expenses, which is labor. A lot of hotels don't have a streamlined process to manage that big amount, which is labor. They also need to ensure that forecast accuracy is at the top of their list. How we forecast and how we plan for 30, 69, 90 days out will help you manage your costs and also help you manage your expenses. You may not need to order $30,000 in linen for July or August if the demand isn't there. So, one thing that Remington does well is we take a look at the full picture. How are we handling labor versus the forecast and versus the demand? And then how are we managing our expenses as well? For me, I'm responsible for bringing in top line revenue. So I really don't get my hands involved with the expenses and the labor, but being able to have the conversations with the general managers and being a part of those conversations, I can, speak to it successfully because I see how they operate and what they do. But also, like you said, Wajid, managing your technology is also important as well. Like guests love options, and the more guests you have, the more revenue you make. So you can manage your labor and your expenses better. But I think all of those areas need to be focused on in order to have the perfect mix.
Definitely. Thank you so much, David, for sharing your input. And what do you think, about technology development and trend? Do you think using latest technology help hotelier to enhance the guest experience? Or what do you think right now? We all are tech savvy, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think how hotel have to adopt the technology to, entertain their guests? Because right now people wants a proper internet in the hotel and proper technology, although they
Yep.
don't personally, for example, if I go or I want to stay in property, I first make sure I get a good internet connection. So what do you think, technology helps hotelier for enhanced guest experience?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think technology does help enhance the guest experience, but it's a gift and a curse because technology is as good as it's going to be. I think every hotel in the world has internet issues at some point in time. I hate it when you have a meeting or a conference going on and you get that call. The
Yeah.
Zoom link isn't working. The internet's down.
Yeah.
So we do our
Agree.
best to try to avoid those issues by making sure that we have the most updated internet to suffice and to make sure that we also have the bandwidth to accommodate the type of meetings that are going on in the hotel. But also when it comes to technology, I feel that companies can have all the technology in the world. They can provide all the tools and resources in the world. But if you fail to train your staff on how to use that technology effectively, where it saves money, where it enhances the guest experience, and to where we're maximizing those tools, then it's a waste of money and time. There's a lot of awesome technology and tools out there, especially from a data and resource viewpoint. Like for me, using Calibri Labs and Demand 360 to make sure I understand what's going on in the market. I think a lot of companies offer those tools, but they're not providing adequate training for people to really know how to use them and apply it to their day to day or their weekly reporting or whatever that might look like. So I think training is a huge part of it. Like I can go into our IT room and fix the internet or reroute our hardwired lines to a different ballroom if needed. And it's because of trial and error, trust. But it's also something that I feel comfortable in knowing that, okay, if the internet goes down here, I can make it happen without calling our IT folks and have to wait for them to get on property or so forth. So I think training is a huge part of the puzzle, but it's a big piece of the puzzle that's missing. But moving forward, I see it as an area that a lot of companies will focus on, and people will become more tech savvy and able to use the technology to benefit the hotel.
And do you think, David, technology gaps still exist in the hospitality industry?
Absolutely. I, I
Actually,
think
I this is my personal opinion. This is my personal, statement. I feel our industry are very lazy to adopt latest technology, a new technology. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
no, you're absolutely right, and most of it boils down to cost. You know, I think a lot of companies operate in the old way of doing things, which, I'm an old soul. I truly believe that sometimes the old way is the best way.
I
But
second
looking
you.
forward, but looking forward into the future, my fear is that those who don't get on board with technology in some format, it's going to be left behind. I mean, this is
Yeah.
where we're living right now. We're communicating via a Teams meeting that operates phenomenally, and we're able to do podcasts like this. This is technology at its finest. And I think during COVID, we started to see the real impact of technology, especially when companies started doing virtual meetings. My heart dropped because it was a big chunk of our revenue. But it was also eye-opening. And then, we rolled out our virtual sales calls, and we started meeting with clients via Teams or Zoom and having virtual site visits. And now we have the virtual property tours where I could walk a client through the entire hotel and they never have to step foot on property. That's technology at its finest, and it's us embracing that technology and giving clients different resources and tools to be able to make their experience wow. But Wajid, like you said, there are gaps. There's a lot of gaps, and hopefully we can fill those gaps in the near future.
Yeah, great.
For sure.
So, where do you see hospitality industry in next few years? Like, how do you see the hospitality industry growing forward in 2014, 2015, and next some years?
I see a lot of growth. I mean, I think there's so much area for opportunity. I look forward to the next generation of innovators in this field that are coming up behind us, because the generations that are in front of us, they're sharp and they're creating innovative ways to do simple things. I think the lifestyle and work life part of the industry is going to boom. I think people are
Definitely.
looking for health conscious options, and not just a hotel room, but they want experiences. So I think those types of venues that are offering those experiences, those health conscious options, those technology savvy brands, they're going to be at the forefront. Back in the day, it was all about staying at a 5 star. It was all about having that luxury. And now it's more about minimal. You give me a nice room with some workout equipment. You offer me a nice menu in your restaurant with some nice lifestyle things to do around the hotel, and I'm all in. So I see that moving forward as being a huge part of the industry, as well as embracing that technology part.
Great, great. So, one last question, and might be this question will be funny for you. Uh, have you ever travel and stay in the property in any hotel? Have you compared that hotel with your property, or deep down the thing, and if front desk officer or someone from the staff trying to trying to misguide you, and you say, "Man, I'm from the same industry too."
All the time, all the
Oh
time.
man.
I mean, I try not to show my hotel cards when I'm checking in, because most of the time I'm on vacation. And I think a lot of times it's just as simple as people forget that we're in hospitality. And sometimes when you, well, for me as a hotelier, when I'm checking into a hotel and check-in times at 3 o'clock and it's 2 o'clock, and they're like, "Oh, you have to wait until 3 o'clock. Your room is
Yeah.
ready. We can't check you in until 3." And I'm like, dude, we're in hospitality. I've had a long day of travel. Don't forget to be hospitable, and don't forget to do little small gestures to make people feel welcomed at your property. The way I talk to my staff in the front desk is like, treat someone like they're coming to your home. How would you invite them in? You want to treat them with the same respect. So when I'm traveling and I run across those issues, I never leave a bad review. I'll have a conversation with the agent or somebody directly, but I always keep a mental note so I can come back to my hotel, share my experience, and remind them this is what we don't do. I mean, we operate at this level and we provide a level of service so people want to stay here, because they're never going to forget they come in at 10 a.m. and you let them check into that room. They're never going to forget that, even though check-in is at 3. So it's the little things that we as hoteliers and hospitality as a whole, we have to remind ourselves that we're in a field of service, and we have to always remember that we're serving others and they're paying our bills. So no matter what that looks like, we have to always embrace it and try our best to accommodate.
Thank you, David. I think you share a lot of interesting stuff with me.
David, I agree with what you have shared. In fact, we can already see that the hospitality industry is one of the fastest growing industry in the world. After your discussion with Wajid about the development and latest technology, I would like to add here in the hotel industry, the technology has become an important part that improves the hotel operations, make the reservations process much easier, automated payments. All these features creates a positive impression on the guest satisfaction.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, today's traveler loves that ease of doing everything. They want to pay from their phone. They want to check out. They want to do it all. And I do think it benefits guest satisfaction for those guests that are looking for that type of service. You also have guests that love to come to the front desk. They want to interact. They want to get a copy of their bill, a paper copy, and you have to be able to accommodate those guests too. There's a stigma or a tale that front desk people are going to go away and the computers are going to be doing everything. I don't foresee that in the future
Mhm.
because we're still an industry of service. We still have a large portion of our guests that love to interact with people. So I see that as never going away. However, I do see the technology piece growing, and being more efficient and effective. But I think humans are here to stay, and technology is here to stay as well. So it's like a marriage. We just have to find a way to marry the two so that everybody wins.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about hospitality events like High Tech Hospitality Show. Which conference or events you like to attend the most?
So for me, personally, just being fully transparent, I attend most of the government trade shows because that's my niche market here in the DC area. But I would like to highlight how these conferences are benefiting from the technological part of the field. With the government, for instance, like NIH just rolled out their new payment processing program, IPP, which makes billing and working with the government a snap of a finger, which before it would take months to process a government invoice through a PO. Also they're offering sam.gov where you can go online and you can bid on government programs or RFPs directly from contracting officers. So seeing the government embrace technology
Mhm.
for me has just been huge because they're usually the first ones to do something. So when the government is looking at different ways and they're attending these technology conferences, it's empowering and it's a sign that technology is here to stay. I do hope to attend technology conferences in the
Mhm.
future, but I haven't had the privilege to yet. So I'm open if you have any recommendations.
For sure, and I believe such events give us an opportunity to grow professionally, where we get a chance to build relationship with the industry leaders like you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I look forward to it.
To be successful, a person must keep learning and keep growing every day. So, through this podcast, do you have any advice for young hospitality professionals for starting their journey in the hospitality industry?
Absolutely. I would just say be humble. If you're fresh out of college or if you're in college right now and you're majoring in hospitality, get a weekend job at a hotel or at one of the establishments around your college. Get your foot in the door because you learn valuable lessons that you can't be taught in school. You learn real life lessons, and it also gives you that experience. Hospitality is an experience driven field. So you want to be able to set yourself up for success. I would also say don't be afraid to start at the bottom. I think a lot of times we want to graduate from school and jump right into a director's role or a managerial role with no real life experience. But like I said earlier, humble yourselves. Learn from people that are in the field that are willing to pour into you. I truly believe that we have one mouth and two ears for a reason. We're always
Mm-hmm.
supposed to learn and listen and take in information and wisdom from others, but also, like you said earlier, continuing your education. For me, I always take continuing education courses, whether it's on LinkedIn. Remington, we offer a platform called Sales Boost, where we encourage our sales managers and catering managers and operations teams to continue to grow as new trends emerge. I love to pour into people. It's the reason why I wrote the book. I also mentor young men throughout the U.S. through a program called Call Me Mister, where I go to colleges and I talk about ways to enhance your personal brand. So I encourage people to continue to grow. None of us are ever smarter than we think we are, and we can always learn more. So if you're listening to this podcast, don't be afraid to humble yourself. Start from the bottom, get some real work life experience, and listen to someone who's willing to share something with you.
Great, great. I must say, newbies have learned a lot of things from you. And, from this podcast, I think they got a great message to grow in their career. Thank you, David, for
Thank
Yeah,
sharing
you.
your
Thank
tips.
it's a wonderful message, and I'm pretty sure your advice will motivate the youngsters in their career growth. David, on a lighter note, what do you do other than work?
Well, I love to work out. So I start my day in the gym.
Oh, great.
I think physical and mental fitness go hand in hand. And it's like therapy. So I always try to incorporate a workout piece. But I'm also a tailor. I have my own men's clothing line. So I tailor suits. And that's another reason why I wrote The
Nice.
Power of a Suit. So that's a side hobby that I have. I've been designing clothes for the past 15 years. 2016, I
Mm-hmm.
won Orlando International Fashion Week Emerging Designer Competition. So it's something that
Uh-oh.
I'm passionate about. I love doing, and it's been embedded in me since I was a child. And outside of that, my wife and I, we love to travel. So we're always on the go. We travel nationally at least twice a year, and then we try to do, an anniversary trip or something during the year just to break away from the everyday hustle and bustle. So that's what I do in my spare time.
That's great. That's really impressive. I'm impressed. You are running your own clothing brand, and that's good. That's wonderful. And especially, the traveling part. You and your wife, spend your time while traveling. I wish I can also, travel a lot with my wife. Basically, we are traveling, but due to some busy schedule. So I think I personally got so much learning from you, David.
Oh, thanks
Yeah.
a
I
lot.
I I have to I have to talk to you again in
Yeah,
person for
absolutely.
some travel tips.
I have a lot of them. I'll be happy to share them with you.
Yeah.
Great, great. I love to do it.
Yeah, happy to hear about your activities. David, we all have some mentors who inspire us with their work or their quotes. Can you name some people who inspired you or motivate you in your career?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many. And I don't want to leave any names out, but there's some really key players that really helped to mold me, both professionally and personally. Mark Dickerson, he used to be one of my directors of sales, a very sharp guy, encouraged me to step my game up every single day. And it's funny how sometimes your toughest teachers are your best teachers. And Sean Anderson, who I work with now with Remington, he's a VP. And I remember when I came into the industry, and he supported my hotel, and he would just always encourage me and just tell me what he saw in me. And when people see something in you and they tell you that, it like lit a fire. It's like, okay, he believes in me, so I know I can get to the next level. Some of the females that helped me out, Liz Wagner with Pyramid Hotel Group,
Mm-hmm.
Jean Hashimi, she's a VP now as well. The list goes on and on. And I'm sorry for anyone that I left out. But there is one in particular, Jason Reeder,
Mm-hmm.
who the first opportunity to move around to a different state, to work task force in different states, to really expand my knowledge with different brands. And I am forever grateful for his support of me until this day, as well as everybody else who gave me a piece of advice or an opportunity. And one more, Michael Capolis is the GM
Okay.
that saw me in the lobby and offered me to interview for the sales coordinator role. And for him, I am forever grateful because that job changed my life and also changed my family's life. And I'll never forget that day and for what he did for me. And I am forever grateful for that as well.
Great, really great. Like, in our life, there are many people who help us and push us. I must say, they push us to achieve our goals and help us in,
Yes.
achieve our targets. So I'm really happy to, heard the names. Someday we can, invite some of your influencers, some of your, mentors in our podcast and ask them how was the David in his every
That would be fun. Let me tell you. I'm
that would
sure
be
they
fun.
have
And
some
hopefully
stories.
we invite you with your mentor and we ask him, hey, when he was kid, how was it?
I'm sure they
That
have
was
some
fun.
stories. I'm sure they do.
Definitely. So you have to share the name with whom
Um,
you want a next podcast.
yeah, I will. That would be a good time.
Definitely.
Definitely, and thank you for sharing their names. And I personally think such people always stay connected with us, and we cannot forget them because
Yes,
they help us in building a successful person in a working life.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, David, for sharing about your journey with us, and good to know your thoughts about the technology and industry where we are working.
Thank you guys so much for having me. You both are great. I really enjoyed this. This was
Thank
amazing.
you.
And I
Thank
really
you.
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, David.
And hope to see you again in the future, David.
Definitely.
Likewise, thank you both so much. Have a good
Thank you
one.
so much, David.
Thank you for watching us. Hope you liked today's episode. See you with another guest. Till then, take care and goodbye.